the Betterment Junkies.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am Mr. White,
And I'm Mr. Black.
and we are the Betterment Junkies. How you doing today, Mr. Black?
Doing good. You hit me up earlier today on a political binge.
Yeah, and oh my God, I feel so lost right now. I've taken myself into this political dive for the State of the Union address, and from the speech and today onwards, I've just dove into politics and the speech and Trump politics and Trump supporters. And I didn't just like, I'm a liberal, right? Like, I
Mhm.
consider myself a liberal. I try to be as neutral as possible, but I vote Democratic. Um, and I didn't try to just keep myself to like liberal views. I turned on Fox News. I looked at Republican responses, people like Ben Shapiro. Like I dove in the whole circle, and man, like I just felt dark. It was like this political darkness that just like loomed over me,
I'm
and
glad
like
that
it
you're at
was.
least checking because I remember when we first started talking politics, me and you were pretty liberal, and then I started going to the conservative side. But since I was liberal before, I had more of a mixed bag, and you were a little liberal. But then you've really come a long way in regards to just like looking at both sides. You're pretty strict on yourself in doing that. And I think that's really good. I think a lot of people need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely because you came in like this your Republican ass way and just challenged everything that I would believe in. And I mean, it was interesting because it's not that you fully believe in it. You've even said yourself that you use like the leftist or the media of the Democratic Party as a crux to see where Republicans come from.
Hmm.
And I think that's actually ingenious, at least to see like there's nothing wrong with like two ideas and coming so I've tried to do the same, and I've tried to discipline myself to try to look at the other side and try to see where supporters come from. Because no matter what I say or how I think, Trump is still the president. He still got elected the president. So, I mean, it happened. So,
I
I
mean, the
will.
focal point of your whole binge was the State of the Union address, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And there's just so much. There's so much to unpack. First, it was a long speech. There's so many individual stories that happen in the speech.
I mean,
Like,
I'm going to admit to you that I did not know the purpose of the State of the Union address, so I'm going to briefly go over it because I looked it up.
okay,
I
yeah,
mean, it
yeah.
happens. The State of the Union address is given by the president around January of every year, but due to the government shutdown, it was
Hmm.
postponed till this time.
Hmm.
And generally, what it's done, it's just to address the year forward and the state of the union, the
Yeah,
state of the
yeah.
country.
No,
That's
absolutely,
that's exactly what it's for. It's talk about the
absolutely.
future, talk about the past, and a
It's
lot.
pretty much
One.
like.
Hmm?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
but a lot of what people look at is when the president talks about certain talking points. People will either sit. Their reactions to what he says is very highly televised. Like if they stand and applaud to one point but not to another, it's like, oh shit, they don't believe in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
That's how they politicize.
it has become that, but I gotta tell you, this one was actually worth the reactions. Like this congressional party that was there for Trump's State of the Union address had to be like, I mean, for someone who does like politics, like this was probably more entertaining than the Super Bowl we got because the Super Bowl was all defense heavy, and not a lot of people understand that shit. So, like I gotta like before we even dive in, I gotta give Nancy Pelosi like a shout out for being a badass motherfucker. Like there were moments.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you like watched the whole speech. I did watch the whole speech, but there were moments when like Trump started talking about immigration and the wall, and like the entire Democratic side just started like kind of booing. And first, you didn't realize like because it was straight after some clapping, so you don't realize like, wait, are they booing? The minute you realize, you see like Nancy Pelosi like put her hand up, like she's the emperor, like the boss basically. She's the emperor. She's just telling them to quiet down. In an instant, everyone just stops. They just stop booing right away, like because
She's the majority leader, right?
she's the house leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. And So behind Trump it sits the vice president, which is Pence, and then sits the House leader, which is Nancy Pelosi. There were moments that you'll probably see the meme going around where, ooh, I forget exactly what he said, but she gave like a very a sarcastic clap, like straight towards Trump, and it was like a sideways clap, and she made a little face and she tilted her head. There were so many moments in there. I'm just looking at there the couple quotes he had about his investigation, the faces she would make, kind of like rolling her head and like laughing, and priceless. It was priceless. It was funny. It was funny to me. Okay, I'm skipping around here, but let's go kind of through the State of the Union address. You know parts of it. You said you haven't seen the whole
I
thing.
watched the highlights and I read through some of NPR's analysis of it, fact check, and then I watched Ben Shapiro's reaction and a couple other reactions. So I didn't watch the full State of the Union address in total, though.
Okay. From the reactions and everything, like, do you
Dude, that
have?
was 2 hours long.
I mean, if you
Holy
watch the whole
shit.
thing, yeah. I mean, his speech was a little bit over an hour. It was longer than most, for sure. But do you have, like, based on everything you saw, do you have an opinion? Did you form an opinion on it, or
I like the
something you
stand he
took
put
away
against the
from?
socialists.
Well, yeah, yeah. That was like a united message. The theme of it was unity,
No, I mean
unity.
like the stand. Yeah, of course against Venezuela, but against the Democratic Socialist Party, Bernie Sanders and AOC. Um,
Well, okay, he didn't specifically call them out, but he did call out not being a socialist country, which the Democratic Party kind of got behind because I don't think like they're
no, I mean
socialists.
like
I think they have
socialistic
ideas.
tendencies. Um, okay, I have the actual quote right here. I mean, tonight we renew our resolve, and America will never be a socialist country. But
Hmm.
here in the United States, we are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, to adopt socialism in our country, I mean, I think that's a direct. And I'm pulling this from NPR analysts who are, like,
yeah, yeah.
professionals as
No, no, no,
shit.
absolutely. I
So, I
mean,
mean, Democratic Socialist America, that's the party name. So I think. And I mean, after reading the speech and then reading that explanation, that kind of makes sense to me. And I'm kind of glad he stood up against them.
no, absolutely. I don't think America will ever be a socialist country, nor do I think it should, because that's not what it came from. But that's the first thing I kind of wrote down about the speech, that with that statement, with a lot of statements he made, it felt more of like a push towards his new campaign run. Um,
Oh,
I,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I gotta say, this was actually like by far from his presidential campaign, this was his best speech. And I mean
Hmm.
that in a way that the most tamed and actual presidential speech that I've seen from coming out of Trump. Like he stuck to the script. He didn't deviate too much. He said some weird things, but not like out of the line things like he's been used to. Like as far as like presidential speeches go, he
He
did
stuck to the script.
he did decent. He did decent for addressing the union. And like watching the whole speech, like I'm not a Trump supporter, so there were a lot of things that did tick me off. Um,
What was the one things that tick you off?
well, I wanted to get on the positives first, if that's okay,
All right.
because actually, fuck it. You asked me anyways. Why not just go
Now
into
you're
it?
dying to talk. You're itching to talk about
Yeah.
it.
I
Tell
mean,
me
the
one.
whole
We'll bounce back and forth.
yeah,
One good,
yeah.
one
We'll
bad.
we'll bounce back and forth. But let me just. It's the investigation. It's the entire. Let me just start with the big one. Um, I have a quote here too. It was, "If there's going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation."
I
Like
love that
I
line.
can't.
I
That was one of the.
he's literally like I'm staying up there like guys stop it,
Yeah.
stop it. Like
I mean, the balls on this man, just like telling Congress to be like. I mean, it was also an indirect threat. A couple of things he said, like if it wasn't for me, in his opinion, we would be in war with North Korea. If I like, basically saying like, if they get rid of him, if they indict him, if they continue with this investigation with him, they're gonna be on worse hands, and like the shit is just gonna fall apart. It was like an indirect threat to just be like, listen, a partisan party, or we're bipartisan now. We're not doing partisan investigations. Like it's. I have another one where an economic miracle is taking place in the United States of America, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations. Like
Oh yeah.
when he was saying that, I was like, okay, he's talking presidential politics. Yeah, foolish wars. I'm down. Partisan investigation. Like, come on, man. Like this is the typical Trump shit. And what happened to the whole
Actually,
like?
okay, wait. Play devil's advocate, which I love doing.
Okay,
Let's say that it was so obvious that he was innocent.
it's not.
No, I'm just
First,
saying. Let's say it was like so obvious that he was innocent.
okay.
Wouldn't that line make a lot of sense?
Yeah, but you're giving me a hypothetical that's not true. I don't
No,
like this
no. But what I'm saying
hypothetical.
is
This
no.
is not
What,
even playing devil's advocate.
no, no,
This
no.
is
But
because
think
it's
about
not.
it. No, no, I'm saying think about it. If that were the case, that line would make sense.
But it
So he's
doesn't. I don't
playing.
care about if you say think about it. It's not the case, and it's not the truth, and he still said it. That's
Yeah, that's my point.
no.
Obviously, he's
Your
coming from
point
a
doesn't
point.
make sense, Mr. Black. You're trying to give me a hypothetical that
No,
doesn't make
it's
sense.
not a hypothetical because he is coming
Oh
from a
my god.
position where he says he's innocent.
But he's not. He's just trying to protect his
Okay, but you're
ass.
not.
Everybody in the
Does he
world
think he's
knows he's.
guilty?
Yes, he knows he's guilty. Why
Okay,
do you
but
think he's saying this?
you're assuming things that he still
Oh
hasn't been
my
convicted
god,
of.
Mr. Black, you can't be this ignorant. There's no assumption
I'm
in the
not
fact that.
being ignorant. I'm just
Yes,
saying
you
if
are.
let's say he
You're
did
being
it.
so
No,
ignorant to
no.
his
Let's say
investigation.
he did it. Let's say he did it. Right. All right.
There's no let's
Okay,
say.
he did it. Okay, let's say it.
There
Let's
is no let's say. But like you don't have the facts on
dude.
it.
He
There's no
hasn't been
let's
convicted.
say.
I'm giving you. Let's say he did it. Come on. He hasn't been convicted yet.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's not going to be convicted, but
Okay.
I'm giving this to you. I'm saying
Okay.
let's say he's guilty.
Okay.
But as a president, I mean, just like when you go to court, even if you're guilty, you still say things like what an innocent person would say, right? So as an innocent person, as the president talking, saying he's innocent, is it that ridiculous to say that stop this bipartisan investigation?
Yeah,
It's not a bad line. It's just that we know that it's ridiculous because we pretty sure he's
is
guilty.
it not a bad line because it rhymes? There is going to be peace in legislation. There cannot be war in investigation. Just because it rhymes, it's a cool line. Let me tell you what's wrong with those. Okay, of course you want to play the innocent part. So you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Oh, this man is coming from the idea of he's innocent and he's saying this. He said that line and he acted in a way where he thought he was going to get an applause. And you know what? Maybe there was two or three people, and those probably his lawyers or some people that are benefiting from his money, or maybe even his son being like, "Yeah." Even the Republican Party looked confused at what he said. They didn't even know. I don't even think they knew that that line was coming, and nobody clapped for that line. That's only the reaction. But let's take it in another sense. If he does think he's innocent, and he does want to talk about partisan or stop partisan investigations. Where was that sentiment when throughout the campaign, all he kept talking about was investigating Hillary Clinton, lock her up, lock her up? Like that was his chant. Where was the bipartisanship
No, what
then?
I'm
Where
saying
was
is
that mentality then? So
no.
my
I'm
thing
saying
is, as a president of the United States, you are now a hypocrite. Like,
no. What I'm saying is I'm obviously I personally think that some shady business went on. I don't know to the full extent, but I'm pretty sure something bad happened and he did something illegal. That's what my personal opinion's at. However, thinking like a lawyer in regards to what he's saying, if he's presenting the front of being innocent, which he is, obviously, he's not saying he's guilty, then him scoffing at bipartisan investigation makes sense and it's a good line. But I'm just pointing out that if a candidate that we loved was up there and he was faced with ridiculous threats or claims, just like when Trump said that Obama wasn't born in the U.S. and how ridiculous that was. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's that line is
sorry about
not
that
out of
noise. That was
context.
my water bottle. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but go
No,
ahead.
I'm just saying that line is not out of context. It's a line that's said with a full realization, with a full belief that he's innocent.
I don't understand how you can even entertain the idea of like, oh, it's a nice line coming from a person who thinks he's innocent. Trying to play devil's advocate. It's not even the fact about he's innocent or guilty. Partisan investigation is the entire reason of checks and balances in Congress and in the government. Why do you think Nixon was caught? Because he was investigated. The partisan investigations are the reasons people who do criminal activities in Congress are let go or impeached or vetoed out, like whatever it is. There's a reason for partisan investigation. I understand it's getting diluted, and like you want to talk about how perverted the system is, but this saying the way he said it in the context of the way he said it, this is a State of the Union address, not just some speech he's making to the media. And it's not even about his investigation. This is
Mhm.
about the American people and the way the American people are, or the American country is going, and it has been going, and it will be going for the next coming year. He did make a lot of good points, but you wanted to get into a negative, and him talking about his investigation that he's completely going to get fired under, I didn't like it, and it showed very hypocritical, and it just showed a cry of plea, and it was so babyish, just exactly like it.
It did give me like a kind of like a childish vibe. Like, guys, stop it.
It's, yeah, you're right.
Stop making
I can
fun of
see,
me.
yeah, you guys need to stop this, all right? Like, ah, man. But like I said, you got me heated on that one a little bit. Let's jump to a positive though, because I did for for as much as I don't like the way he speaks and a lot of things he does, and I don't think he should be the president, there are some things I will give him credit for, and there are positive things he has done as being a president that I am willing to give his administration credit for, just not specifically him. But
Like what?
while giving his administration credit, I want people to remember that his administration only gets credit because of the 2 terms that Obama served to start these programs and to start the economy the way it was going. It's not just a factor of 2 years that where Trump came in that all of a sudden that we rise into booms. Another thing that was nitpicky, he talked about jobs and how about 300,000 some jobs were created for once he became president. That's great and all. I just to compare, I watched Obama's State of the Union address at 2014. I just found one of the years that people had criticized, and it happened to be 2014 because I wanted to see how Obama did compared to Trump. And in his speech, he talks about unemployment and how he created 8 million jobs over a 4 year span from 2010 to 2014. You want to talk about 300,000 in 2 years to 8 million in 4 years? Like, you just want to talk number wise. I don't care what factors you want to bring in. Like, it's nothing to brag about. So I understand that it is creating jobs, but it's because there were things set by Obama that these things are still continuing to do so. The American people are willing to work and go and get jobs, and it just keeps continuing. It just happens to be under Trump's administration.
I mean, some would argue that both these presidents are irrelevant, though, because I mean, the market crashed, yeah, but whenever we have had a crash, we've had a boom afterwards. It's just the markets
Oh
go
no,
up and
I'm gonna
down.
stop you right there. It's not just a boom afterwards. It's not like a natural thing. It's not Darwinism where naturally it's gonna boom afterwards. FDR came in after the Great Depression and set certain programs that helped the boom and set things that would help people find jobs and help get paid. Just as Obama came, he bailed out a lot of corporations. You want to talk about how Trump does the tax benefits so that corporations will come back into America? Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
shit was started by Obama. That shit was started for when he bailed out those companies so that American companies would not
I
look to
mean, well,
invest
who
in
says that
foreign.
was the best way to do it, though?
What do you mean that? Oh, everyone's so riled up that Trump's bringing jobs back to America when Obama started that shit. Oh, corporations are coming back to America. We want American-made things. Those corporations were outsourcing and going to different companies because the tax tax loopholes that they would try to have to deal with America when they could just do it outside for cheaper. Now
Well, how
that
has that changed? I mean, Netflix recently
what do you
filed the
mean? How is
taxes.
that? No,
Netflix
that's
filed no tax. They pay no tax to the U.S. government.
what does Netflix have to do with it?
I'm just saying, as an example, like corporations still pay no taxes to America. So how has that changed?
That's not true. That not all corporations don't pay any taxes to America. I'm not like a tax expert on corporations, but what
It's
I'm
still
saying,
very
no, what I'm
low.
saying is it's not that it's changed. It has changed because a lot of things were being outsourced during the recession. Obama created programs to bring American corporations back, and now it's booming to the point where Trump is also doing the same thing that Obama said that he was doing. But people are riled up that Trump is doing it and giving tax cut, and because of tax cut, that American corporations are coming back to America. I'm just saying, give credit where credit's due. I'm giving the man credit and his administration for continuing to do what Obama started, but I'm
Which
giving also
was?
which was the tax cuts for
I mean,
American. I
but
don't know. I'm not a politician, and I'm sorry I didn't do my dark web research. I don't know what the exact tax
but I
cut
mean, like,
is,
okay,
and I don't know how much percentages they do.
a lot of people put Obama into this high pedestal, but I mean, one of the lesser known facts about Obama is, yeah, he bailed out the banks, but then immediately after his presidency, he gave a speech to bankers and took a fee of $400,000. I mean, if that's not a sign of corruption or where his true loyalties lie, then I'm not sure what
Where
exactly
do you
people are
get
looking
that
at.
basis of what fact is that? Like, I'm sorry, I refuse to believe that it's just a random piece of.
BBC.com.
Where did he take $400,000 just to give a speech to bankers?
The 44th president has accepted an offer to speak at a healthcare conference hosted by Cantor Fitzgerald in September. The deal comes less than 100 days after Mr. Obama left office.
Okay.
And yeah, the former U.S. president is being criticized for reportedly agreeing for a $400,000 fee for a speech to a Wall Street bank.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Man's getting paid. Let him get paid.
No,
Athletes
but
get paid mad contracts.
I will criticize Hillary Clinton all day for taking $200,000 or whatever speeches, dude.
What do you know that he's going to do with the $400,000?
No, but think about it. Like, yeah, I understand it's the president of the United States.
First of all, we're not debating Obama and Trump, but go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, but I'm just saying, like, anyone who gives a speech for that amount of money is clearly there's an alternative motive there. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I just don't. I think people put Obama on such a high pedestal, and I'm
what if
one
it's
of
a
those
Robin
people
Hood
too.
motive? Like, what if he's taking the money from a corporation and he's gonna go give it to charity? You know, maybe he's taking it to campaign for his wife. Maybe his wife is gonna run for president. Who the fuck knows? Like, but I
Are
would
you
rather
serious? believe
in Obama than I would believe in Trump as to why he's gonna take the money. That's all I'm saying. That's my belief. You can shit on Obama all you want. We'll talk. We'll
No, Obama to me is like a hero that let you down. I truly loved Obama, and then Trump came along, and then I looked more and more into Obama, and he wasn't as glamorous as I thought.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in the same boat. I truly loved Obama, didn't fully understand politics back then. Trump came along, got my ass into politics, and I looked back at Obama and I thought, you know what? I should appreciate the motherfucker a lot more than I did. That's where my boat is. So let me get back to what Trump has done good. All right, I won't forget giving Obama credit. We won't. Okay. The couple things he said in his speeches that I thought, and a lot of reform he's done that I thought were amazing. Um, right off the bat, the opioid crisis. He has done. I don't know the exact policies, but he has done a lot for the opioid crisis. I know that for a fact. And he's he's been an advocate for it, so I do appreciate that. He mentioned the farm bill. I, I wish I knew a little bit more about the farm bill. I'm not a farmer, so it doesn't really pertain to me. But I'm sure it's to help the American farmers in some sort of cut.
I would hope so.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, before you go to another positive, let's break this up a little bit. We talked about some positive. Now let's talk about some negatives.
Wait, but my last positive.
Oh, your last? Okay, fine. Finish your last positive. Yeah. Damn, that was a short list of positives.
Well, no, I have a couple more of that I'm going to say for the second half.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you had a structure.
Yeah. I mean, the last one part of this was the veterans reform, where he's created like the veteran accountability, which prosecutes a lot of people who mistreat veterans, like healthcare professionals and things like that. People who mistreat veterans, which is obviously a great thing because veterans give a lot for the nation that you live in. So, that's my first list of positives. I'll get into the other ones after. Is that cool? I got a side story too. Did you hear about that kid that had the last name Trump and he was invited to the speech?
I did not.
Yeah, so there's this kid that also has the last name of Trump and he's being bullied at school. And Melania Trump's the whole thing is about bullying, like anti-bullying, the first lady's stance. So Donald Trump invited this kid to sit at the speech. I mean, he's like a 13 or 11 something year old kid, right? Halfway through the speech, they like roll the camera and he's passed the fuck out.
Yo, I
mean,
do not blame that kid. Like
yeah, I
13
don't
years
either.
old, you
No,
said?
absolutely. Like,
13 if 2 hours.
yeah, it was a long ass speech, and like
Oh,
he's like
dude, that kid
13.
probably now getting made fun of even
Even
more.
more. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, like he's
Fucking
young,
Melania
but
Trump made it so much worse for this kid.
well, Donald. But the thing is, he brought him out there to speech. He didn't even give him a shout out. Like he said, like the first lady, everyone clapped. But that would have been a great way to like put Melania Trump's platform out there by introducing the kid and being like, "This is what the first lady's doing." But he didn't take the opportunity
I
because
don't
they're
see
not
her
really.
doing like a lot, or maybe I just haven't heard of it.
Well,
Like,
no,
what?
but like that could have been the moment. Like,
Yeah.
if they were fucking right and they were actually had a relationship, like that could have been the moment. Like,
Is bullying still an issue in our country?
I'm sorry.
Is bullying still an issue in our country?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I mean, I was like passively aggressively bullied, but like I'm talking about that violent type of bullying.
Well, I don't think it's like the '90s type of bullying anymore. A lot of people have,
Cyberbullying,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, cyberbullying more. A lot of people have calmed. I would say it's a more mannered nature than when we grew up in high school, for sure.
Yeah.
But there's still definitely bullying and things
I
going
think
on like that.
I think bullying has just become more feminine.
More
Yeah, because
Twitter
that's how
fingers.
girls bully each other. Like,
It's
you know,
not
like,
trigger fingers, it's Twitter fingers.
okay, if you say so. Okay.
That's a line. The Drake line.
Oh yeah, I know that
Yeah,
line.
come on.
Yeah,
Yeah, now you feel like an idiot.
I do actually.
I
I
think
know
it's
that
from
line.
Back to Back.
Oh yeah, that's a fucking good song. Actually.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you were saying?
No, I just feel like the whole like physical bullying thing is just not. I'm sure it happens, but like it's not as big now as social media bullying.
Yes, I mean cyberbullying, like that. Bullies basically have found a cover to do bullying, and that's cyberbullying. So,
Yeah, I mean, maybe on a later podcast or something we could talk about it. I really wonder what her initiatives are because I would be curious because this is actually like a fucking huge problem, and I would want our greatest minds working on it. Maybe not Melania Trump.
I love how much you've dug into Melania Trump's stance of anti-bullying. Like that was just like the minute detail and like the little story I had, but you are so concerned about her. I know she's a beautiful woman and you're recently single, but well, her husband has cheating on her, so maybe you have a shot.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this anti-bullying. I just got pulled into it. I don't know
You
why.
really did.
No, because I was surprised. I like
is it-
forgot. I forgot that was her thing, and I'm like, what has that? No, because I remember Michelle Obama. Hers was like healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But I remember her having like a commercial or something.
Yeah, because she
about
did
it.
really well with her platform.
Yeah. I think she did well with it. I mean, at least I remember some of the messages, so I think that had an impact on people who actually care.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, if it hit me a
if
little
you
bit,
remember a little bit, then,
exactly.
you know,
If it hit
yeah.
me like a 10%, then it must like for a decent human being, it must have hit them like 80.
Yeah,
But-
you're really concerned about the first lady, huh?
No, I'm just wondering. Like, I'm comparing her to Michelle Obama, but I don't know enough about Melania Trump or what she does to even say anything. I just haven't heard anything, so my assumption is she isn't doing shit. But I mean, that's not fair. So we'll see. I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah.
Continue.
I feel like I need to address this. You just kind of slipped over your passive aggressive bullying, and then you got really sucked into anti-bullying. So, like, do we need to have a talk here, Mr. Black, on the podcast?
But what?
Like about your bullying past, like, because
No, my bullying past is hilarious. Okay,
it actually
because my
is.
bullying past was I'm like right now I'm like 6'1", 6'2", and when I was a kid I had a growth spurt, right? So I'm like a tall kid, and
you were a big
so,
kid.
Yeah.
Not
so,
big kid, but like you were tall, like taller
yeah.
than
I was
everyone
tall.
else.
I was a tall to my class consistently. So like,
Yeah.
the type of bullying would be like I would forget my pencil to class, and then I would ask someone to borrow it, and like the mob, the kid would be like, "Yeah, but I'm gonna get it tomorrow," and my dumbass would lose it, and I'd be terrified to go in and face him. But I have to look down at this kid, and it was it was just like, all right, then you owe me like your lunch then. And I'm like, but it's a pencil. Like, no, I get your lunch. I mean, it's just like stupid ass like bullying like that. Which is
you let
good,
it.
though.
You at the moment. People don't know. Like you used to love martial arts, so like the thing is, you knew how to fight. You took karate, but you were a pacifist at those moments. So you would kind of let it happen, even though you knew you could kick everyone's ass.
I was so naive to be a pacifist.
Yeah, And we took full advantage of it. I'm not gonna lie. We were probably the part of the most bullying in your life, and
Oh yeah.
and probably the proudest moment of our lives. So
Yeah, I don't think I even hit one of you guys, but it became.
yeah, and we tried to aggress you too. It wasn't like we wanted to poke the bear. The thing is, like, we understood you could probably take us down blindfolded, one high tied behind your back, because you were like a black belt, and we were just like goofballs. So we
I
would
like
like
just put on the record that I was not a black belt, but I was kind of close, brown.
you were, but you taught students, and you got a black belt.
No, but I hate when people are like, like they say they're a black belt, but they're not. So I just want to make sure,
you
like,
got respect
I'm
for
not
the
a black
martial
belt.
arts, so I can't just loosely say that to you. You know.
And and also like, that's another podcast, but I was in. Okay, I was in like a karate thing, but now if I were to do it to anyone listening, I would recommend you do boxing or jiu-jitsu, which I really want to do later. But, yeah.
Anyways,
yeah,
okay, so
my
we got a little
past
sidetracked.
days were wasted. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I miss bullying you. But anyways, so I said the positives, right? I said a couple positives. Did you want to add anything to that, or you? I mean, I know you were really concerned
no,
about
I just thought it was
Melania.
like a good lukewarm speech that kind of just like was just mellow enough to like kind of like encourage bipartisanship. I
mean, he tried the message. Like the message of unity was there. Well, fuck it. If you don't got anything to say, let me get to my next negative, all right? Because this pissed me off. Because the motherfucker is a liar. And when I mean liar, like he just flat out lies in public with the statements and things that he makes. And this, like, he. This is why I say this was one of his best speeches because he didn't do it a lot, and a lot of the message and things he said were very presidential. But the one thing he did lie about, which he constantly keeps lying about, is about how he's made the economy so great. So I think the line was the America is the hottest economy, um, and it's like the fastest and hottest economy growing. That's not true. In the past year, like countries like Ghana, Nigeria, their economies in a statistical and like number wise of GOP and everything, their economy was growing faster than the American economy. Even though China's economy is slowing down, their economy was actually growing faster than American economy.
I mean, is that a
So
fair comparison though? Like, I mean, are we really going to compare America to the Ghana economy?
it is a fair
Ghana's
comparison.
economy.
When you're going to state a fact about economic growth and how you're the number one in economic growth, when that's not statistically true, you, as a president, like you're giving false information to the people. And it's like that's where it came as the campaign with me. He started this like rah rah again. Like to me, after the speech, even though I liked a couple things, I still was annoyed, and I was annoyed that like he's our president and like these like I was being in my liberal boots, and then I like got into my Republican boots real quick and tried to see the other side, and I was going through a lot of comments. There were so many supporters saying this was the best speech they ever heard. This was the best State of the Union address. This was the best Trump speech ever. They were riled up for him. They were ready for 2020 or sorry, 2024 presidential election. Like they were, or no, wait, what is it? 2022?
2020.
2020, right?
Yeah.
2020 president, yeah, right?
Yeah. He has 16, 8 years.
No, he has 2 more years left, right?
What year did he become president?
2022.
16. No, he became president in 16, so 2020, right?
No, because this is his second State of the Union address.
All right. Obama got elected 2008 and then
Yeah.
left 2016 and then Trump.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But he took 27. Oh, yeah, damn, you're right. Damn.
Why is that so surprising?
That means it's coming up.
It's coming up. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of got lost there. What was I saying?
We were talking about economic policy and how he said that America is like the number one in economic growth.
Yeah. And he talked to, I was saying something else too.
I mean, would you say that's an accurate statement if you're comparing it just to like the big superpowers?
No, because China's growth was more than America.
Was it more than that? I think, I mean, yeah, he may have been factually wrong, but a kernel of truth there is that a lot of the American economy surprised a lot of people because they thought it wouldn't do as well. But I think it added around what $300,000 jobs, and it did
Yeah,
a
I
lot
mean,
better than
yeah, it raised
expected.
like unemployment and all that, but like,
Yeah, the sentiment behind it is true. I mean, it was if it was a blatant lie, it'd be like if the economy was doing bad and he said he was doing great. Like that would be a blatant lie. But he did, I guess, an exaggerated lie.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, America, there was a fact that America has had 100 straight months of job growth, which is really good. And the thing is, it's just happening under his administration, so he's taking credit for all these things. And it pisses me off because most of the credit should go to Obama. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, he's the one who's left the administration and left the government and the
I mean,
people
but
the
what would
way.
you say to some people who, I mean, disagreed with Obama's policies and saying that it hindered growth?
I don't see how, because
I'm
if
only
you,
saying that because in the position of me and you not being economic experts, like
Mhm.
if you disagree with someone's policy on what they did, right, and then you can always argue that the previous president has affected the current president's thing. So when can you actually say what the president did was in his own right? You know what I'm trying to say?
I do, when it's like a big factor, like when it's not just like taken as economic growth. I wouldn't have a problem with President Trump if he didn't try to take full credit, like as if he did everything. I like making amends and making bipartisanship, like the theme of his union address was unity, and I feel like everything he says and everything he goes about when he talks about certain things, it's always to split, this split mentality and this very Democratic versus Republican, and it's getting very split. It's not becoming like liberal and conservative. It's becoming very left and right, and you kind of have to take these two sides, or you're in support of this, or you're not a Trump supporter. There's no more like healthy debate and in the middle that there was with Obama. Like you talk about hindrance, but it was just a hindrance of politics, whereas Trump has like this become this, either you do it or you don't, and you're on this side or that side. So every time one side gets something done, it's seen as this like grand gesture of something that he's done and his administration has done, when in truth it's been in place and the growth has been happening. It's just they just happen to fall into that administration that takes that growth and keeps it continuing. The fact is that there was more growth under the Obama administration per year than there actually is with the Trump administration. I'm not saying there isn't growth and there hasn't
I mean,
been
that's a
good.
false statement. I mean, that's misleading because
And what
we
he's saying
came
is
out of a
misleading
recession.
too. Like, yeah, but we came out of recession. We could have gone still more down into a depression. Like it still could have been a possibility. The recession is just like a,
I
I
mean,
don't
no,
want to
if it
say.
crashes, it crashes. I mean, yeah, it could go down slightly, but
No, it's not a crash. Like even from the Great Depression, the reason we have the names we have, the recession, the depression, is because it goes in these like valleys and
yeah, it's the
peaks.
cycles.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cycles. So if it same thing when the Great Depression happened, it went from a recession, then it went into a depression. The same thing could have happened. We went into a recession because the stock market crashed, but if it didn't rise, if we didn't go on this peak, it could have dropped down into another Great Depression.
Hmm.
It happened, like it's a possibility. I'm not saying it couldn't have happened. Even we can't say it couldn't have happened. So you have to give the administration and the government that was working place at the time credit on what they did with the country to bring it around. And that was an economic growth, and that was really the economic growth that America needed to get to the point that where it is now. And I'm not saying they are like unemployment rate is at 4% now. So, and it's under his administration. So it's not saying like he's not doing a good job and he's not doing certain good things. I am giving the man credit.
Yeah, I mean, I think my personal belief is that a lot of these things are, yeah, influenced by the president, but they are majority of it's impacted through other means, like I don't know, like corporations
No,
are now more
absolutely.
harmful.
And
But
that's
I
what,
mean, that's getting to something else. You didn't like this economic policy, and we don't
yes.
know a lot about it. So, in regards to one of some of his other points, I think what were some other points he had? Something about abortion.
There was about abortion. He made a strict. This is a tricky subject. So he wanted
What
to
is your view on
call.
abortion? I actually never asked you.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure it out after this too. So in Trump's speech, he wanted to end third term abortion. Those are the words I heard. The Republican Party wants to get rid of the idea of abortion like completely. That's their main ideology. But
Yeah.
the words I heard come out of Trump was third term abortion, which I kind of have to agree with. Third term abortion is the moment where you have a heartbeat and the child is actually formed and it has a brain now.
I mean,
And
third trimester abortions like refer to small cases, like only 1%, and in these
yes,
cases, it threatens the
radical.
mother's life,
Yeah, it's
or the
radical.
baby is severely disformed, and then it becomes a medical thing. So I think it was kind of like a wasted point,
It
like third trimester ones.
it was, but that's why I wanted to give him credit for the word choice that he used. He did make it very like riled up, and he talked about how a governor from Virginia um had said, or like a doctor had said, like, I will kill the baby and take it out if I have to. And like
Yeah.
he made it sound very demonic, that people are baby killers basically. And you could see the Democratic Party was not having it, like, because they knew the tactic that he was using. And
Hmm.
it's a scary tactic in politics, and he's like getting really good at it for getting these people riled up, and that's why I'm scared for 2020. But he basically riled it up by calling people baby killers who support the pro-choice section.
Where are you at on that?
I have to agree. Like, I recently saw this thing about in Ireland where they're not pro-choice, and they like actually women get to sent to jail for 14 years if they're caught giving an abortion. Doesn't matter what trimester, minimum 14 years they would go to
Where is
jail.
this?
Ireland
Oh, I didn't know that.
or Ireland or Scotland, like one of those up there. So they have to sneak into England to go get their abortion. Otherwise, these people, these women who are victims of rape and are certain economic situations where they can't raise a child or have another child, they do like the old school method. They do the hanger
Yeah, I've
and
heard about
everything.
that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that shit happens in America,
no,
state to state.
absolutely. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're not allowed the medical professionals to do it. So if it was going to happen anyways, like you would want medical professionals to be a part of it. And who knows, maybe medical professionals can give them more information that doesn't make them feel scared and actually choose to have the baby. So you never know. So giving pro-choice to medical clinics and medical professionals, I think is a good option because I'm like I won't say who or what, but in my lifetime, there has been someone close to me who has dealt with getting an abortion, and it happened very early, so it wasn't anything risky. It was like they found out right away they missed their cycle, so they went to go get certain pill. It's like taking the morning after pill, you know? It's not really like you're doing
Yeah.
something horrible, but you've taken the precaution. It just happened to be that the doctor said if it goes, you are actually pregnant, and you can if you take the pills, it'll go away. Um, and I was like, because I was close to this person, not like directly, but it would be cool. I would be like playing with the baby. So I kind of got sad that like there would be no baby for me to play with. As selfish as that is, because they were
Yeah.
not ready, like they had their own situation. But like it didn't make me sad, but I did understand because if they had that child, then who knows what circumstances that child would have been in. And probably that would have made me feel more sad. So
That's your experience of being pro life, but kind of understanding the view of pro choice, right?
pro-choice,
Let me
yeah.
tell you about my flipped version.
Okay.
I was pro choice in high school,
Okay.
and then I was telling my friend, and you actually know him, but I can't say his name, but
Okay.
and then I was telling him like, yeah, like I'm so for pro choice. You know, you're passionate about your beliefs and stuff like that. So I was telling him, and he's like, my parents were. I'm actually adopted, and I was about to be aborted, but they decided to save me. So I'm a case for someone being um, not aborted. And I was
Oh
like,
wow.
shit.
And that turned you.
No, I mean my beliefs were still the same at that point. It didn't really deter me. I mean, I don't. I think that's you can't. I mean, that's just like an argument put out there that socially I couldn't combat at the time. Like I couldn't be like, no, no, no. Let me tell you why that was a mistake. Let me tell you why your existence is a mistake.
See,
Like I couldn't do that.
the
So, but
adult you would have done that. So I'm glad this happened in your formative years when you were a lot more nicer.
no, I mean, when you have that argument, you're not having that argument. Oh shit, that's my bedtime alarm.
Oh, you ready for
Oh, that's
That's
actually
hilarious.
yeah, it's 9 o'clock, dude. Um, what was it? No, I mean, you're having an argument on the basis of like you're talking about concepts, as opposed to like I'm not talking about like okay, individual people.
No, I know. And so to conclude that story, basically, you are now pro-life.
I I don't think you can be pro life. Okay, I'm pro choice. I have to be pro choice because
Okay.
I think there are cases where abortion is needed.
Okay.
Um, but the thing is, it's like a spectrum. Like, at what point do you call it?
It's
You
a
know what I
very
mean?
tricky, yeah, it's a very
So I'm
tricky,
definitely not pro life if that means that no abortion under no circumstance. I'm not
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
So I
same.
guess I would be pro choice.
I think me and you are on the same boat with abortion when it comes to it. It's like, almost like this middle ground of it's circumstantial and,
There are
you know,
ethical arguments that, like, I mean, like, oh my god, this is pretty fucked up to say, but like, you could like 2 years.
oh, for sure. I mean, once it's out, there's no question to me. Like, once it's out of you, the woman is no longer control. I understand when it's a woman's body, when they're going
No,
through
I mean, there have been
pregnancy.
arguments that like you can abort like a 1 or 2 year old. Like they're
Mm,
let me clarify. Philosophical arguments. Like
I don't even want to entertain those arguments because I wholeheartedly wouldn't even agree with that. I can understand the 9 month period, but once it's out of the woman's body, there is no question
no,
to
no.
me.
I'm just as a side note. These arguments stem from the idea or trying to find the idea of when does life begin. Like
Okay,
what determines life. So a lot of people argue like if you can't form memories, are you actually living? Like that's like that argument. It gets in
that's
that one.
interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's a good
We can get into
exercise.
that in the next podcast.
Yeah. Well, next
I
time,
like
next
that as a
podcast, we'll
topic.
debate: should we kill 3-year-olds?
Anyways, so I think we're in the same portion of abortion. But he did make it very demonic in his speech. So that was a moment of it. So before I
Can
get
you hear
into
my alarm?
very faintly,
Should I get
now that
up and
I'm
go turn it
focused
off?
on it, now that I'm focused on it, I can kind of hear it. Um, let me just go.
All right, continue your point.
Yeah, let me because we'll wrap it up real quick. We'll wrap it up. Um, I just got to make my the big negative I wanted to get into is immigration and the border wall and all that. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big one I wanted to get into. But before that, I'll list the rest of the positives that I really liked about his speech and his administration. I stopped with the Veterans Act. The big one I liked is his criminal justice reform. He's been an advocate of that, and I've liked it. And he's now placed a law, which is the First Step Act, and it basically is starting to reform prisoners who were charged with first misdemeanor drug charges back in the day or felony drug charges, whereas like selling drugs and they got like 35 years plus or 25 years to life, like ridiculous amount of jail time for first time offenders. And his prison reform does a lot for the prison population and the prison community. And I think that's a big one that a lot of people ignore. And I will even admit to Obama's fault that I wish he would have been the one to do the criminal justice reform.
Mhm.
Um, so I see, I can admit when my deity is wrong. So don't get me wrong. But so that's a big one I like. And the other two, real quick, is the he did make a part of the speech, which is ironic to me because he wanted to repeal Obamacare, but he made a part of the speech where he wanted to lower cost of healthcare, prescription drugs, and to protect patients with pre-existing conditions. So that to me was a big part of it. And I really like that was the whole thing with Obama and Obama's healthcare. That's a whole lot of thing with the Democratic healthcare plans that they do. So it was nice to see that bipartisan kind of mentality he had on healthcare. Don't know how true that will hold, but we'll see about that. And the third one that I really liked was paid leave for families. Um, there's a lot of like paid leave questions about maternity leave and paternity leave and the equality of men and women. And for a lot of like inequality he does with women and things like that, I really like the fact that he had the paid leave for entire families, not just a woman or paternity leave or something like that. So that was a good. Those were a couple good bipartisan ideas.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just to reiterate, it was the criminal justice reform, the idea for paid leave for both parents, and the big one, which he said, I don't know how well he meant it. It was a lower cost of healthcare, prescription drugs, and to protect patients with pre-existing conditions.
Hmm.
So those
All
were
right,
positives I liked.
let's get to the good stuff. What didn't you like? Immigration.
Yeah, let's get to that. We'll talk.
The
We won't
last
address
point.
it. Yeah, well, this will be the last point. So obviously, he made a point. He even talked about how there's a caravan coming. He brought a victim, a family victim of someone who was victimized by an illegal immigrant. They apparently broke into the house and killed their grandparents, and it was like a big family. It was like a certain amount of kids, a certain amount of grandkids, and like 20 great grandkids. And so he did bring like a story out to the forefront, but it's very misleading. Like that's one story. What about the countless stories killed by actual citizens of America? And I mean, he did try to make a point of like, legal citizenship is okay, and he did. I don't know how he meant it. He tried to make a point of trying to fix the immigration policies, but his fix of the immigration policy was solely focused on building the wall. And he tried to point it
Yeah,
out to
that's where he kind of lost me. Because, like, I agree with how strict he is in regards to immigration policy, but I'm not with the wall.
Yeah, and he's like giving facts about like San Diego, and when you put a fence and a wall up, it's like less traffic. Well, of course it's less traffic because now you just diverted him to use another route. So like it's I don't know. Like I said, he brought out the idea of another caravan coming and they're like bloodthirsty monsters. It's just not the case. These people are fleeing. Nobody wants to leave their own country. It doesn't matter, like, no matter where they come from. Like, even our family who came to America, they love India more than they love America, and they talk about it all the time. Granted, they made a life here, so they probably would find it hard to live back there, but a lot of people don't want to leave their country. It's out of necessity that they kind of have to. And
I would
this
not say that our parents came here out of necessity, though.
I'm not saying our parents did.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
I'm
like,
just saying a
in
lot of
regards to
people. I'm not
immigration,
saying
like,
everyone. Yeah, no, there's a lot of people who
yeah.
just do it by choice, but
Hmm.
I'm saying like, well, that's not true. Like my family felt it as a necessity. I wouldn't say it was like a do or die situation, but mentally
No, but I'm saying, like, they wanted to, and it would better their lives, so they pursued it in a legal way, which all of that logical makes sense. But if something is hard, yeah, it sucks. But then to then break a law, it doesn't erase the law being broken. But if it's
sorry, I
if it's
lost
like
you.
a huge wrong they're going through, then yeah, obviously you can break the
No,
law.
see, we're gonna have this argument again we did in the birthright citizenship one. Like it's ridiculous for you to try to interview. Like when it's a group of people coming from a certain situation, there is no interrogation. Like you can clearly see what they're running from. When it's individuals, I understand, but when it is a group of people, you don't just turn them. Like what he did with sticking children in cages and separating family. Like I don't agree
Yeah,
with that.
wrong,
Yeah, absolutely.
wrong,
And like in the way he shut down government because of the wall, completely wrong. For
wrong.
35 days, even like people like Chris Christie who originally back him up and support Trump, he came on, I believe it was like the Stephen Colbert, and he talked about how he told Trump that if you try to shut down the government for this border wall idea, like yeah, go ahead, use it. It's your power. You have the right to do so, but make sure you have an exit strategy. And being shut down for 35 days is not an exit strategy. It's like panic and nothing thought out. Like,
No, no, I agree that his handling of the situation, the wall, and the kids at the border. I mean, that's all stupid. But I still am very firm on the belief that there should be strict adherence to immigration policy. And if anything needs to be done, then I think it needs to be done with maybe taking another look at our refugee status and seeing if maybe we are missing some people who do need that refugee status. Like, are we not giving enough out, or
Well, yeah,
where
he
are
wants to
the?
stop all that. Like that's the whole thing. The more you say like, oh, we should be more strict. I know what you're trying to mean about being more strict because you see it as like illegal immigration is an issue of the country.
Mhm.
When you say it in the way of Trump being president, though, his idea of being more strict is being shown. The idea of turning down families, the idea of turning down refugee statuses because these people are colored.
Well,
Like
yeah, which is why I preface it with like I don't agree with him on this. I'm just saying that the core conservative belief that you have to come to the country the legal way. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
well, everyone believes that you should come in the country the
I
legal
don't
way,
think
but
you
the
do.
liberal no, but the liberal belief is that you've made it damn near impossible for them to do it in legal ways. Like if you make it more attainable, if you make it more possible, if you give them the idea of refugee status, if you like vet them in a certain way, then you'll
But
get it.
we take more immigrants than any other country in the world, probably even like combined, probably.
I wouldn't just say that out there, Mr. Black. I would need facts to say that. I mean, I
That we're the
agree.
number one
No,
people who take
I would
immigrants. I mean,
agree that I would
like,
agree that most likely we are, but I can't just say 100%. Like
what
when I was little, I used
country?
to think we're the number one in the economy, and that's not true anymore. Like, and it hasn't been true. So,
I mean, actually, this is good. We'll see. Uh, yeah, United States is. Oh, Germany is second. But United States is what 46 million, and Germany being second is 12 million. It's a big difference. Like we take the most,
no,
and by
absolutely.
by sizable margin too.
No, absolutely. And we should because that's what our country is built on. So, but the thing is, we do make it very hard for even the people we take, because we do end up taking them and then
No, but
sending
what I
them
mean is
back.
like a story of someone who was here illegally, but they came from a situation where it didn't warrant refugee status, but compared to the American style of life, they were, let's say, poor in wherever country they were from, but they came here illegally. I mean, that's a situation it's sad. It is that we now that they've lived here for what, maybe let's say 3 years, that they have to go back to poverty, but they broke a law. Like we have to find where we're
I
gonna draw
can't
the
even I
line.
can't even get in this, Mr. Black. You're gonna get me heated because that is the most nonsensical, like dumbest shit I've ever heard. That oh, we're sorry you were poor in that country, but because you traveled here to America, like everyone fucking does, and how America was founded, and because you started making a life here, we don't agree with that life. I mean, you haven't done any criminal activities. You haven't. You've only
But
contributed
coming
to
into the country illegal is a criminal activity.
because they didn't have a legal means. I'm sorry they didn't have a legal means, but now you found them. So now
I mean, we
why
have
do
the
you have to
right to
send
say
them back?
no.
Why do you have to send them back? They've clearly made this something of themselves. If this was back in the
No,
day,
I just said three
if this
years.
was
Not
back
all
in
of
the
them are.
day when America was founded, what it was wrong, they're wrong that they came into the country and made something of themselves. That's the foundation that America is
Okay,
brought
but
upon.
what situation do you take someone who is rightfully being deported? What
What,
what what does that scenario look like?
what do you mean?
I mean, like, under what situation, like, does it make sense to deport someone then?
When you do a criminal activity.
Other than doing criminal activity, because we both agree on that. But I'm talking about adherence to being in this country illegally. What if they come here legally, but it's after before 6 months they get to be deported, or after a year, or how long do we wait for them to
Well,
establish a life before they can be deported?
Now you found them, right? You go by economic status. Where are they staying? Do they have they contributed? Have they found work? If they're completely living on the street and completely broken down and have nothing, even then you can't send them back. But once you know that they're there, they're kind of tagged. You what you can do, and
So
I'm not
once they get a
saying
job, it's no longer on the table to deport them. Would that be a fair
I don't think
assessment?
it's on the table to deport them right away at all. I think it's on the table for you to take time to vet these people and for them to at least try to gain some sort of citizenship. Give
But
them
how
some
can you
sort of
vet them if they come in illegally? Then you find them.
What do you mean? With today's
I'm talking
technology and
about
the things
someone.
that we can do, you can absolutely vet who they are, where they came from. You can take fingerprints. You can keep tabs on them. Like,
How
it's
do
not that
fingerprints
hard.
help if someone's illegal, dude? If they come from like a poor country that, I mean, they don't use fingerprints, then how are you supposed to fingerprint them? You need an initial fingerprint.
The idea of fingerprint is so that you can keep tabs on them. So if they do become a threat, go ahead, deport them then.
Yeah,
But
but we're
if
talking about non-criminals. So if they never committed a crime, then they're not going to
so,
have
what
fingerprints.
is so
Well, I
what is
mean, that's a side rabbit hole. I mean, okay, let's say
Well, yeah, we're
out of
getting into
all
a
the
very deep
all the
rabbit hole.
yeah,
I still don't agree that deportation, like right away, is the correct answer.
I'm just
I
trying
just
to find
don't
a
agree with it.
situation where you think, other than criminal activity, outside of illegal immigration, where that would make sense. Where you would say, okay, they need to be deported.
When it's a threat, that's the only way.
I mean, as a national policy, I don't think that is feasible. Just
I'm
be
not.
like,
First of all, the national policy shouldn't be like, oh, let's let illegal immigrants come in. I'm saying there should be reform and strictness so that you make legal immigrants come
okay,
in
but how
at
about
an
this?
easier rate.
I'll put an olive branch out there. Let's say America says, okay, anyone can come in this country as long as you don't commit a crime and you're not a criminal. Like, okay, anyone can come in this country, right? But let's say but you have to fill out some paperwork and it takes maybe like 2-3 months. Let's say someone still comes in on a boat and they come into this country, classified as illegal, and they stay here for a year or two. Do you think, should we deport them? Because if we don't deport them, then why would anyone bother waiting the time period for us to analyze them and do the paperwork? There
Well,
has
I'm
to be a
not.
line where we
No,
deport
but
people.
I'm not saying like straight up deport them. But once you found them illegal, that's when you put them in facilities. They're vetted. They're like they don't have their freedom to just be around in this country. We are found illegally, so now you have to be put through a system so that you can try to become illegal. And if it seems that it's a threat, then deport them. You have the technology to find out where these people come from and if they're a big enough threat or not. I don't care what anybody says. We have the technology
To
nowadays to do
classify
so. And
everyone.
first of all, like if you were to make the reform, there would be no reason for people who actually want to come into this country for them to come in illegally. If you make it available and you make it a possibility for even poor people to come, they're not going to longer try to come illegally. People come
But there's a
legally.
reason why we don't do that. Like, we need to have some rules. Like, we
I'm
can't
not
just.
saying not to have rules, Mr. Black. It's just reform. We have those rules make it so strict nowadays. There have been
I know.
refugees that have
I
been.
just give you a scenario where it's literally anyone can come in. You just have to
You didn't
wait a
give me a
couple
proper
months.
scenario, Mr. Black. You can't just say, okay, now we've let people come in. They just fill out a form. First of all, it would never work like that, nor would I agree that it should work like
But
that.
even under those fairy tale standards, you still can't say that we can deport
Because
them.
there is no fairy tale standard. I wouldn't even want to make it a fairy tale standard. And
But
because I
I'm
can't
trying to
agree with
see.
that.
I'm trying to get an example from you in which you would say, other than criminal activity, like, yeah, we would have to deport them.
Because there is none.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at. You don't believe in deportation in any context other than criminal activity, and
Unless it's a threat.
yeah, that's what I'm covering that with criminal activity. Like,
Yeah.
I agree with you on the threat. Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll talk
Well,
about this some other time.
the idea of
Well,
a
that's
threat
because
is
that's
that
fundamental, a fundamental difference. That there's no point in talking about other things. I believe in deportation in certain circumstances. You believe in deportation only with criminal activity.
which is a circumstance. I said not criminal activity because then you classify them that they have done something. I'm saying
Okay,
even if they
criminal
haven't done
activity,
anything, if they're a threat, then you deport them.
criminal activity, not including the act of illegal immigration, and if they're a threat. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of
Okay.
course. If they do a
Yeah.
criminal activity, then yeah.
No, I'm just trying to outline like for later argument of like where, because we've argued on immigration, but we've gone down separate rabbit holes. But now I feel like we've kind of pinpointed the crutch of, or like the core of what we truly disagree on. And I think
Yeah,
that's good.
and
So we can
so
debate on that.
just to clarify, you say that the act of being illegal is the criminal act, so deport them. Is that a correct statement from you?
Yeah, unless like refugee status or something like that, and which I think there maybe is room for reform. But I think the core argument is, I believe that there are some circumstances in which deportation is a necessary evil, and you believe that deportation should only happen if the person is a threat,
I
or
think
does any criminal
essentially we're
activity?
saying the same thing, but I think your
No, no, I
idea.
agree. I disagree because I think there are. I think that if someone comes in this country under illegal status, even if they are not a threat, and even if the only crime they've committed is illegal immigration, I still think they need to be deported.
So
Unless
I
there's some that they're getting, they're in a horrible situation. But that's where I'm at.
okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I make it circumstantial too. Like, if they're just someone who came in through a boat and they come from like a wealthy family over there and they're trying to come in illegally, that's a criminal activity to me. To me, illegal immigrants are poor people, usually poor people who want to come into this country. Like, people who have money that want to come into this country and try to come in illegally, people who are coming from good situations and try to come into this country illegally, that to me is the criminal activity. But if for someone like when I say illegal immigrants come into the country, to me, illegal immigrants, a majority of them are just people out of necessity, whether it be war, whether it be poverty, whether it be personal situation, they're coming from a necessity. They're leaving an entire world behind to come to a new country. It has to be out of necessity. It's not just a want.
I would. The only thing I would say is I don't think it needs to be. I think there are circumstances in which people come because it's just better here, as opposed to needing to come here.
But the people who have the ability to come and think that, oh, it's just better there, so let me go, they have the ability to come through legal channels. That's where I come from the difference of illegal immigrants. I think of them as a majority of people coming from
Okay, I
necessity.
think we'll have an episode. We had an episode on immigration, but I think now we'll have one that is the core belief, like the core belief of like not just America, but like of the policy of what any country should be. I think that'd be a good talk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we at least agree the wall is not a good idea.
Yeah, the wall is not.
$5.6 billion wall is not a good idea.
Yeah, and one third of our wall or the borders already there's stuff there.
No, of course there are
Yeah,
measures there, but he wants to wall that shit up. He wants to make like the Game of Thrones North on the south.
that'd be
So
pretty badass though. It would melt though.
yeah, I mean, I will say like there were some cool things about the Union address. It was cool that the women were all dressed in white for the suffragettes.
I thought that
Um,
was stupid.
come on, man.
Hmm?
100 years ago, women got the right to vote. Like,
I thought okay,
come on.
what I thought, and I'm really riding Ben Shapiro. Like I'm like riding the Ben Shapiro wave because I watched his video.
I
When I
watched his
first
review too, and I was
when I
very
and you know
disappointed.
what point I'm about to bring up. It was
Yeah,
just like they didn't applaud for
yeah.
minority
Oh my
jobs
God,
and
that
all
that
that.
bullshit. Oh my. First
And
of all,
then
there was only like 2 or 3 moments where they didn't clap. Okay, and so this, I wanted to bring this whole point up before you got me heated about immigration. Actually, the whole address actually showed the very big divide that we have in America now, especially with the left and the right, and the
yeah,
very big divide of Republican and Democrat. And I'm someone who is a liberal, but I respect Ben Shapiro because the man knows what he's talking about, and whether I agree with him or not, he's very sharp and very knowledgeable about it. But when it came to his review of the State of the Union address, it felt like Fox News media. It felt like he was just a supporter trying to put Trump in the light. To me, he's always been factual. If he doesn't like certain things that Trump has done, he will call him out on it. And he did it like on things like the Bill Maher show when Bill Maher and Ben
yeah.
Shapiro
I
went
know,
at
and
it.
I agree with you there.
Yeah,
I was
but
surprised that he didn't really have anything negative to say about Trump.
exactly. And
Yeah,
to me now it's showing the culture of like even people who are democratic of like people trying to stop free speech of people who are conservative. I mean, if they're not really harming anything and they just have an idea like pro-life, there's no reason for us as Democrats or liberals to shut them down. It's just a healthy debate, and that's something I respect about Ben Shapiro, but I could not get behind his review of the State of the Union address. And the whole thing about not clapping at certain moments, I don't know, man. Nancy Pelosi was just a boss. And I don't
yeah. I mean,
I
no, I'm
I
not. That's not why I didn't even disagree with that part. I was just I didn't recognize it, and then when Ben Shapiro said like, you know, like they didn't stand up for this part or this part, and then this is the part where they stood up. Then I was like, oh, okay,
And it
I
was
kind of
kind
see
of
what
out
you're
of
saying.
context because it was like, oh, they don't support women or they don't support babies, but like it wasn't like they don't support babies. It was the whole line and what he said that they didn't support. They didn't support how the president. It wasn't just, oh, they didn't stand up because they don't support this, and it felt very like non-Ben Shapiro to me. So I got very disappointed with that review. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely wasn't one of his best ones, I think. But
Yeah. I mean, we'll save it for another podcast, but the whole culture of like this, what we're going on left and right and blaming the other side and being very divided and not being able to come in the middle, I we see it as a very negative and hateful thing nowadays, and I agree with it, but I almost saw it as this renaissance back to kind of what we were supposed to be, right? The Democrat Party was supposed to be the voice for the middle class, and it was supposed to clash with the Republican so that the Congress can be in checks and balances.
yeah, but
And
I don't think it was
and
supposed to
look at
be
the
this
look at the
bad.
result of Trump. Look at how many women are in Congress now, a record number of women, and that is a result because they ran against Trump. So Trump took credit for it because I guess he gets credit because he's such a misogynistic that so many women ran for Congress.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. I don't even know if that was maybe the reason, or just more like there have been just more and more women in politics just in general over the years.
No, of course, but this is a record number, and I don't care what you said. I appreciate the suffragette movement. I understand your issue with feminism, Mr. Black, and you have opened my mind to it a little bit, but what they did was not overly feminist to me. Okay, that's my last point of the State of the Union address. We've dragged it on. Is there anything else you would like to finish up? I've talked a lot.
No, I think that's it. I mean, unless you want to let everyone know how they can kind of find out more about us.
Absolutely. Our videos, excuse me, our videos and podcasts are up on YouTube. The Betterment Junkies. We are starting to make cool little animations in our video, and shout out to Mr. Black for that because it's fucking awesome and I love it. We have the other videos up in our other podcasts. Please share, like, subscribe if you like it. We have a bunch of other topics that we're going to put out, and I'm sure you guys will find topics on YouTube that you'll like. And if you want to find us on social media, Mr. Black has his own Twitter account now. If you like to share that, Mr. Black,
God damn it! Am I supposed to memorize it every time?
every fucking time.
All right. Go over the other stuff. I'm gonna look up my Twitter.
That's what I thought. All right. If you want to find me on Twitter, if you want to tweet at us or Mr. White, you can do it at TB Junkies. If you want to find us on Instagram at TB Junkies, I'm going to try to get the Instagram a little bit more popping. The Betterment Junkies on YouTube. We're going to fix our website, get on iTunes. Mr. Black, I've saved you enough time. What is your Twitter handle?
It is Mr. Black TVJ.
Good job. If you want to tweet at Mr. Black and tell him how bad he is at his job, it's Mr. Black TBJ. All right. Thank you guys. We appreciate you listening. We hope you guys got some insight and had some own opinions. I know politics is a very hot button debate, but it's only going to get better through debate. And if we stop shutting down each other's ideas, I know me and Mr. Black get very heated because he comes from a different perspective. I come from a different perspective, but he's opened my mind to be able to see conservative and Republican ideas and try to watch those things. And I've disciplined myself to try to open my mind to do and get both perspectives so I'm not just secluded to one idea. And I think that just makes me better. And if we do that with the government, that'll make America better. That's my preachy line. Thank you for listening to us. I am Mr. White.
And I'm Mr. Black.
And we are the Betterment Junkies.